The strain, Red Shadow Mars, 23 years had passed since the Tesla Corporation founded Eos Prime, the first fully self-sustaining human colony on Mars, encased in a kilometer-wide pressure dome, powered by Tesla solar grids and geothermal backup. It was now home to over 100,000 people. It was a marvel of engineering and an experiment in social evolution. Earth was 4 months away. There was no going back, only forward. At the center of it all was Dr. Evelyn Hart, colony director and former SpaceX Tesla biosystems engineer. She was the first to notice that something was off with airlock Sector 6. A maintenance worker, Leo Navarre, had failed to check in after a routine external inspection. That alone wasn't too alarming, except for the unregistered crate found near the outer corridor where he vanished. The crate wasn't listed in any cargo manifest. It was black, metallic and cold to the touch, even in the insulated sub-environment. It bore no serial numbers. Around it, traces of dark, spore-like dust had settled, too dense to be Martian soil, too fine to be metal shavings. A Tesla science team led by Dr. Tomasz Kurtis, a Hungarian xenobiologist, was dispatched to investigate. They opened the crate. Inside was what appeared to be black Martian regolith, but unnaturally arranged, patterned, layered like it had grown in the container. More disturbingly, fibrous, translucent strands, sinewy, like muscle tissue, clung to the bottom. Some were still twitching. "This isn't cargo," Tomasz said quietly. "It's living material." The disappearances over the next 48 hours, strange reports trickled in from lower quadrant residents, pets missing, power flickers, whispers of movement in the air ducts. Then the first people began to vanish. All from remote areas of the dome's infrastructure levels, always at night, always silent. Security bots finally caught a glimpse on camera. A tall skeletal figure with pale translucent skin, no eyes. Instead, 2 pits of shifting black fluid where a face should have been. When it sensed the camera, its jaw unhinged, revealing a long, bifurcated tongue. It snapped forward and shattered the lens in an instant. The next morning, 29 bodies were discovered in the water filtration hub, bloodless, each with a single puncture wound at the base of the neck. Tomasz stood over one and whispered, "It's not feeding, it's seeding." The infection, it wasn't a virus. It didn't travel through air or touch. The tongue was the vector, a biomechanical injector, lacing the victim's spinal column with something ancient. Within hours, changes began. Cellular structures broke down, reassembled, bones stretched, eyes darkened, organs calcified or vanished. The skin grew translucent. The subject ceased to be human, and then it rose. The infected didn't breathe. They could survive outside the dome, in the freezing, airless Martian night. They hunted in silence, using echolocation and thermal sensing. One touch, one strike of that tongue, and another joined their number. The colony's strength, its isolation became its prison. No escape inside the dome. Oxygen was life. Outside, death waited in 30 seconds or less. The infected exploited this. They attacked air generators, severed emergency compressors. Each system failure forced residents to retreat deeper inside, condensing the population, making hunting easier. Worse, the infected weren't mindless. They learned, adapted, coordinated, as if something or someone was guiding them. Traced the origin back to the crate, not the object, but what was beneath it. A former ice mining shaft beneath airlock 6 had been sealed for years. The team broke through, descending into darkness. They're buried in rock and pulsating with slow alien rhythm, with something alive. A massive organic nerve cluster fused into the Martian bedrock. Wires of tissue sprawled out from it like roots. It wasn't just a creature. It was a mind, and it was growing. This was the heart. They had awakened something buried for eons, perhaps sent here, perhaps born here. Either way, it was awake and reproducing. The fall Evelyn Hart authorized a final protocol: detonate the mining shaft, destroy the heart. There was only one problem. The explosives had to be manually armed on the surface, near the exposed neural root, now crawling across the planet's crust like veins. Raoul Jin, a drone pilot and ex-Earth military, volunteered. He would have 80 seconds outside the dome before the cold, oxygenless atmosphere killed him. Myra Soul, an oxygen engineer, and a few survivors watched from the control room. Raoul made it to the root. Set the charge. The black tendrils reacted, writhing toward him. Sensing, he smiled once, whispered, "Not today," and triggered the blast. The mountain buckled, the ground ruptured, the heart screamed, not in sound but in tremors. A psychic ripple through the infected. Many collapsed, others ran, disoriented, but it was too late. The colony infrastructure was breaking apart. Oxygen levels plummeted. Fires spread. Automated systems failed one by one. Eos Prime was dying. Red silence. Tomasz and Mira made it to an old escape pod, an early-era Tesla prototype designed for asteroid landings. Inside were cryoseats for 5. Only 317 people made it out before the dome fully collapsed. They launched into orbit. No navigation, no contact, just silence. A week later, Earth received a garbled transmission. Then another. Then a file containing fragments of S final log. The infection was not a disease. It was a reclamation, a harvest. We were not the first. We won't be the last. The Tesla Corporation denied everything. Mars was declared inhospitable again. All colonization plans suspended. The site was labeled Quarantine Zone Red -1, but surveillance satellites still orbit the planet, and every so often they send back images. Not of cities, not of structures, but of shadows, moving across the surface waiting.